If you are over 60 and your morning vision has been softening, your eye doctor has probably told you it is just age. But researchers measuring the gut microbiome of adults in their 60s and 70s found something that changes that picture entirely. The nutrients your macula needs to stay clear are already in your food. The problem is they are not arriving. My dear friend, welcome. I am glad you are here. My name is Master Takeshi Okamura. For over 60 years, I have practiced Japanese traditional healing in the mountain village of Kurama, north of Kyoto. My grandfather handed this knowledge to me, and his grandfather handed it to him. I have spent my life watching what truly happens to the body as it ages, not through a single appointment, but across full lifetimes. My grandfather taught me early that all sickness begins in the belly. The gut, he said, governs what every part of the body receives. The eye is only as clear as the channel that feeds it. That was not poetry. That was observation made across generations of watching people grow old in our village, some losing their sight and some holding it steady well into their 90s. Modern researchers are now measuring what he watched quietly for decades. What they are finding is beginning to change how the most forward-thinking physicians think about vision care after 60. Here is the fact that almost nobody I speak with has ever been told. It is the thing that changes everything. By the time most people reach 65, they have lost more than 30% of the beneficial bacteria that once lined the gut wall. Not because they did something wrong, because it is what time does to the microbiome. But that loss is not simply a digestive issue. Those bacteria were the machinery that converted the food on your plate into the precise compounds the macula requires for protection. When that machinery slows down, the nutrients remain in the food. They are present, but the system that processes and delivers them to the back of your eye no longer works the way it once did. Think of a river that once ran strong and clear, carrying water to a distant field. Over time, the channel narrows, the flow slows, the field goes quietly dry. The rain still falls, the water no longer arrives. That narrowing in the gut is what your eye doctor cannot see through a lens and cannot address with a prescription. But it can be addressed. That is what this teaching is about. In the next several minutes, I am going to show you the 2 specific nutrients your macula depends on and why getting more of them in your diet is not enough on its own. I will walk you through the 3 hidden forces cutting off your eye's nutrient supply years before any blurring begins. I will share the morning practice the elder healers of Kurama used across generations. I will show you the 3 habits most people follow every day that are making this worse without realizing it. And at the end, I will share the 1 shift that holds everything else together. The single most important thing I have found in over 60 years of practice for tending this channel after the age of 60. Please stay to the end. That final piece is the one that changes what everything else can do. Let me first make sure you recognize what I am describing. It started as something small, words on a television, or the fine print on a medicine bottle, asking a little more of you than they used to. You held things a little farther from your face. You told yourself the light was poor. But then the problem followed you into better light. The blurring was still there, a faint film over one eye that would not lift no matter how many times you blinked. And then the halos appeared around the headlights on a night drive. The edges of oncoming cars softening in a way that made you grip the wheel a little tighter, made you wonder when the last time was that night driving felt comfortable. Then the deepest change, a mild graying at the center of your vision, not the edges, the center, the part that reads a face, the part that finds a grandchild at the far end of a yard and holds them clearly, the part that lets you sit at a dinner table and know, without any doubt, whose face you are looking at. This is not imagination. This is not simply what the calendar brings. What is happening inside your eye has a specific, measurable cause, and is directly connected to what your gut is no longer delivering. The structure at the back of your eye is called the macula. It depends on two specific pigments to work properly. Their names are lutein and zeaxanthin. The body must draw them from plant foods because it cannot make them on its own. These two pigments function as a built-in filter at the back of your eye. They absorb damaging blue light the way deep shade cloth over a garden bed protects delicate plants from burning in the afternoon sun. Without enough of these pigments, the photoreceptors behind the lens begin absorbing light they were never designed to handle. Over time, that stress breaks down the cells that translate light into clear images for your brain. Here is where it connects to the gut. After 60, the body's ability to absorb and retain these pigments through the digestive tract can decline by 30 to 40%. The food may still be on the plate, the greens may still be eaten, but the machinery of absorption inside a compromised gut moves too slowly to carry what is needed. A study tracking nearly 4,000 adults over a decade confirmed what the old healers of our village watched across generations. Those with the highest concentrations of these pigments in the eye were dramatically less likely to experience the kind of central vision decline that eventually takes reading, driving, and the ability to hold a face in full detail. The food is not the problem, the channel is the problem. My dear friend, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please take a moment now and press the button below. These teachings come every week, and I would be glad to have you here for each one. Now let us continue. Three forces work against your eyes after 60, and they almost always arrive together. The first is chronic low-grade inflammation. The blood vessels feeding the macula are among the smallest in the entire body. When they narrow from inflammation, the lutein and zeaxanthin you eat with your meals may travel through the blood, but never fully arrive at the eye. The door is mostly closed. Many people carry this quiet inflammation for years before their vision shows any outward sign of it. The second is slowed peripheral circulation. After 60, blood flow to the far reaches of the body decreases. You may feel it in cold hands on a cool morning, feet that take longer to warm by the fire. The eye feels this slowing as well. But the third force is the one that ties the other two together, and the one almost nobody has heard about. Those beneficial bacteria in the gut need a full three-part system to work. The living bacteria themselves are the probiotics. The fiber that feeds and sustains them is the prebiotic. And together, those two produce something called postbiotics. These are the compounds the bacteria actually manufacture. The fished materials the gut ships out to the rest of the body for repair and for absorption. Think of it as a working garden. The seeds are the probiotics. The soil is the prebiotic. The harvest you actually bring in is the postbiotics. Without all three, the garden does not produce, and what the eye needs most never arrives. By 65, most people have lost so much of this system that adding a probiotic supplement alone is like dropping seeds onto dry, cracked earth. The soil is gone. There is no harvest. I want to tell you about Robert. Robert was 74 years old, a retired electrician from Cedar Rapids. He had been living with central blurring in his left eye for nearly 2 years when he came to me. Years of antibiotic treatment had left his gut almost entirely stripped of beneficial bacteria. We began rebuilding his inner terrain with traditional fermented foods and prebiotic-rich plants from the mountain healing tradition. Within 8 weeks, his absorption had improved. His central clarity on a near vision card showed roughly 40% improvement. But then it stopped. For 6 weeks, Robert stayed at 40%. He was eating the right foods. He was doing the morning protocol faithfully. And nothing moved. That plateau was the moment I understood what the old methods alone could no longer provide past a certain age. Dietary changes rebuilt part of the foundation. But the postbiotic output, the finished compounds the bacteria was supposed to manufacture, could not reach the levels Robert's eye required from food and fermented preparations alone. The gut had been partially repaired. The delivery channel was still too narrow. Robert needed all 3 layers of the garden working together in a form that bypassed the limitations of what a compromised gut could still produce on its own. Once we added that final piece, his improvement resumed. Within another 10 weeks, he reported his central clarity had improved by roughly 80% from where he had started. He wrote to me saying, "Master Okamura, I told my wife the kitchen looks different. She said the kitchen is the same. I told her yes, it is me that is different. I want to speak plainly now about what that final piece was and how I found it. For 3 years, I searched for something that delivered the complete three-part foundation in a form reliable enough to recommend with confidence. I tested traditional fermented preparations. I worked with formulations that addressed one layer or two. Most supported the probiotics. Some added a prebiotic alongside. None of them addressed all three layers together, with strains I found credible in the research, in concentrations that matched what the studies supported. During those 3 years, I watched patients plateau the way Robert plateaued. I understood what was missing. I did not yet have something I could stand behind completely. The product I eventually settled on is called BoochBod. It brings the complete probiotic foundation together with its prebiotic soil and the postbiotic output the body needs, specifically the strains Lactospore and postbiotics LM1004, which were the two I found most supported by the research I reviewed carefully. It also contains dandelion root, a plant that healers in our mountain village used for generations to strengthen the belly and support the flow of nourishment through the body. What gave me confidence to recommend it beyond my own patients was partly this. It comes as a gummy, not a capsule. That matters more than it might seem. For many of us past 60, the stomach acid environment is no longer ideal for delivering sensitive probiotic strains through a hard capsule. A gummy begins releasing what it carries before it reaches the stomach. The delivery is fundamentally different. Over 30,000 people are now using it. And because I know that trust requires more than a recommendation, BoochBod carries a 60-day guarantee. You have 2 full months to use it and see how your body responds. If it is not what you needed, you are not out $1. The link is waiting in the description below. And please, as always, speak with your doctor before adding any supplement. Now let me walk you through the complete protocol, because BoochBod is not a replacement for these practices. It is what allows them to work at full capacity. The elder healers of Kurama observed across generations that the eye responds most deeply to what the body receives in the first hour of morning. From waking until mid-morning, blood flow to the peripheral vessels is most receptive. This is the window to deliver what your macula needs. The pairing my grandfather called the morning armor of the eye is simple. Cooked dark leafy greens taken alongside a source of healthy fat, spinach, kale, or any dark cooking green, gently wilted in a pan for 4 to 5 minutes. Alongside this, a small amount of olive oil, a quarter of an avocado, or a soft-cooked egg. The fat is not optional. Lutein and zeaxanthin are fat-soluble compounds. Without fat present in the same meal, the body absorbs only a fraction of what is sitting right there on the plate. Research has shown that eating these grains alongside a fat source can increase their absorption by more than 300% compared to eating them plain. The laboratories are now confirming what my grandfather watched every morning in our kitchen, preparing his bowl before the rest of the family was awake. The second piece is circulation support. Each morning, before sitting to eat, place 2 fingers gently just below each eye socket. Press very lightly and hold for 10 slow breaths. This technique from the mountain healing lineage supports blood movement through the small capillaries behind the eye. It takes less than 2 minutes. The benefit comes from daily practice, not from a single morning. The third piece is gut terrain. A belly that cannot absorb and deliver these pigments defeats the rest of the protocol before it begins. This is where I want to tell you about Dorothy. Dorothy was 71, a retired school teacher from Traverse City. She came to me with a persistent gray haze at the center of her right eye, that had grown steadily over nearly 3 years. She had been eating salads faithfully for years, every day without fail. But always plain, always dry, without fat present. Almost none of the lutein in those greens was reaching her bloodstream. We shifted her morning meal to cooked greens, with a soft egg alongside. She began the circulation practice each morning. We also addressed her gut terrain together, building all three layers at once, with BoochBod alongside the dietary protocol, because at 71, her gut did not have the postbiotic capacity to bridge the gap on dietary changes alone. Dorothy's results came faster than Robert's. Within 14 weeks, she told me her central haze had cleared by roughly 70%. But what she wrote in her letter, I will not forget. Master Okamura, I can see my students' faces in photographs again. I thought that clarity was gone forever. If you are managing any condition involving the retina, or if you are on blood-thinning medications, please discuss these changes with your doctor before beginning. 3 things to add starting now. First, cook your greens. Raw spinach delivers far less available lutein than the same greens wilted gently in a pan. Heat breaks down the cell walls and releases what is inside. A small pan on the stove each morning while the kettle heats. Treat raw salads as an addition, never a substitute. Second, reduce screen light in the final hour before sleep. Blue light in the evening depletes the very pigments the macula stores during rest. Setting down the phone or tablet 60 minutes before lying down gives those stores a chance to replenish overnight, a habit that costs nothing. Third, include deep orange vegetables 3 times each week. Carrot, sweet potato, and winter squash carry compounds that work alongside lutein and zeaxanthin in the retina. 1 serving 3 times a week is enough. 3 things that are quietly making this worse every day. Mistake 1. Eating leafy greens without fat. This is the most common error I see. Someone hears that dark greens support vision, begins eating a salad every day, and wonders why nothing changes. Cook the greens, add the oil or the egg. That is the correction. Mistake 2. Trying to address gut absorption with a probiotic supplement alone. A probiotic without its prebiotic soil cannot multiply or produce postbiotics. And a single layer supplement entering a gut, missing its full 3-part foundation, may pass through with very little actually retained. The sequence matters. All 3 layers must be present together for the channel to reopen. Mistake 3. Accepting vision decline as fixed and permanent. Many people wait 2 or 3 years before making any change, believing what has already softened cannot return. The tradition and the research agree. Earlier attention brings better outcomes, and the body's capacity to respond does not disappear at any age. My dear friend, let me speak plainly as we close. What you are protecting is not an abstract health metric. It is something specific and irreplaceable. The ability to look down at your own hands while threading a needle in afternoon light, to turn the page of a book without holding it at arm's length, to sit across the table from your grandchild and hold their face in full detail, not as a soft shape at the far end of a room, but as the face you have known since the day they arrived. The body at 70, at 75, at 80 still listens, still responds to what is offered with patience and care. The channel can be opened. The nutrients can arrive. You have tended this body for a long lifetime. You already know how to be consistent with something that matters. Let me close the circle. The blurring, the soft edges, the halos at night, the thin film that will not lift, these are real and measurable. They point to a depletion of 2 protective pigments inside the macula, not a failure of the eye itself, but a failure of the channel that was supposed to deliver what the eye needs. That channel fails for 3 reasons working together. Chronic low-grade inflammation narrows the blood vessels feeding the macula. Slowed peripheral circulation reduces what reaches the back of the eye. And after 60, a gut missing its full 3-part foundation can no longer deliver these pigments reliably, no matter what is on the plate. The recovery protocol addresses all 3. cooked greens with healthy fat in the first hour of morning, a brief daily circulation practice, and the three-part gut foundation: prebiotic seed, prebiotic soil, and postbiotic harvest, working together to reopen what time has gradually narrowed. The dietary shifts and the morning practice will take you most of the way home. BoochBod is what addresses what diet and fermented foods alone cannot rebuild after 60. That is what Robert's Plateau taught me. That is why it is part of Dorothy's story and not a footnote to it. If you are ready to give your eyes the foundation they need, the link for BoochBod is in the description below. It comes with a 60-day guarantee. 2 full months. You risk nothing to find out what your body can still do. Until the next teaching, my dear friend, take very good care of yourself.